Hi and welcome. I'm Don Ridenauer. I'm a licensed mental health counselor in Indiana, and this is Everyday Mental Health. This video is one of 3 parts that are condensed from an hour-long live stream I did last week with the parents of a boy who was at a school during a school shooting. And the first part goes through what happened from the time they first heard about the shooting until they were all safe back at home that evening. The second part talks about how they helped themselves and their son and the grandchildren that also witnessed the shooting recover from the trauma that's always a part of such an event. And then the third and final part will be an interview with their son who was there at school. If you like these 3 videos, you can give me a thumbs up on each one of them. Consider subscribing to my channel where I do talk about everyday mental health. And I appreciate the support. Thank you. I'll see you at the end. With Ethan on the left and Morrison on the right. But this is part 3 of a 3-part series on a school shooting that happened in Indiana. These 2 guys were both at school that day and went through that ordeal. And so we're going to find out what it was like and what they have done since then to get past it and not let it hurt them in their life going forward. Now, this was 4 years ago, right, guys?
Right, yeah.
Okay. And so you were both at school that day, as I said, right? Where were you, Morrison?
I was in the gym at the far side of the school.
Okay. All right. And of course, you don't know where the shooter is or what's going on, right?
Yeah, we heard a announcement come over the intercom, and that's all we knew is that there was an active shooter.
Okay. And when you're in a gym, did you immediately know what you were supposed to do or not?
We were in the locker room at the time, locker room
Oh, okay.
for the gym class. So, gym teacher immediately just said, just run. And so, because the door is just right there, door goes straight from the locker room outside. So we just ran outside and ran across to the golf course on the other side of the road.
So it was a school announcement, the PA announcement of active shooter. That was the first thing you knew was going on. How
Yep.
about you, Ethan? You were right next door, weren't you?
Yep, right next door. Yeah, and I'd say we knew probably maybe a few minutes before they did because we could hear the shots and the yelling and the commotion all from the room next door. I think it was actually really surprising how long a time it took for the PA to announce that there was an active shooter in the building.
I'm not surprised because there's that shock. Everybody freezes.
Yeah, no one knows what to do.
And yeah, and then it's hysteria, and then they've got to figure out what's going on and then take action.
Mm-hmm.
And so meanwhile, what were you doing? As soon as you heard shots, what happened?
I didn't quite realize what was going on. There was this kid in my class who always like dropped books on the floor. Just as middle schoolers dropping books on the floor is funny.
Okay.
And we'd gotten used to all the loud noises, the boom, and well, we just thought it was him dropping books on the floor until we heard the teacher next door actually saying, "Someone call 911." And then our teacher told us to run into the it was a science room, so it had a supply closet with all the eye washy things in it and stuff. So we ran into that room.
Okay.
And we didn't have time to barricade or anything. We just ran in there and hid.
Was there a door on that room separating it from the
Yeah,
classroom?
so we had 2 doors between us and the hallway, but it
Okay.
shared a wall with the classroom.
And then Morrison, you're running to the golf course.
Yes.
And you don't know whether to duck, take cover while you're running or what, right?
Well, I heard active shooter and it just gauged, okay, so there's someone with a gun inside the building somewhere. And as long as I'm outside of the building, I'm okay. I remember they even said it was in a 7th grade hallway. Yeah, I think they did say it was in the 7th grade hallway, which is opposite side of where I was.
Okay.
So my first priority was calling my parents. So as I was running away, I pulled up my phone and called as I was running across the field.
Okay. And of course, they were shocked. And
Yes, they were. I remember that they were in complete disbelief. That I
Yeah.
had to repeat what I was saying a couple times.
Ethan, your sister was where?
She was at the elementary school.
Okay, so she and Morrison, your brother, were at the elementary school. Naomi, your cousin, was in the school with you guys,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, and Caleb, our cousin.
And Caleb too. Yes, right.
Mhm.
Your other cousin. So there were four of you actually in the school. And did you know where they were?
No, oh, I don't. I still don't know where they were. Yeah, me
Okay.
neither.
Okay. So Morrison's run across the golf course. Ethan, you're holed up in a supply closet. Did you guys just stay there until they all clear or what?
Yeah, we just stayed there till they all clear. I remember. It was. We were. It felt like maybe. It felt like a lot longer than it probably was. But we sat in there. There was a bit. We were mumbling among ourselves, talking, and then it went quiet in the other room. That was probably the scariest part, I'd say. And then we
Ooh,
got quiet because we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know if um, the shooter had been subdued, yeah, incapacitated, or if they were just on to the next classroom. So
wow.
we just kind
Wow.
of sat there quiet.
What are the other kids doing? Are they crying? Are they?
I remember she was really upset about her because her brother was in the classroom next door,
Oh, okay.
and so she was really distraught.
Yes, I'll bet she was. Okay. And anyone else?
Um,
Not by name, but just other kids.
yeah, they're I think most the same. Everyone was either just deadpan or in hysterics, I'd say.
So what happens next for you?
Um, After that, I remember a police officer had come, and they actually had a key to the classroom door. So they had gotten into the classroom, and the little supply closet had a window, so we could tell it was a police officer. So we were able to get out, and we weren't scared at all by going out. But I've
Okay.
heard that other kids, I think probably during the shooting, as it was going on, or as police officers got there, but not as we'd known it was safe. Like before everyone knew it was safe and police officers were there, they were actually checking if doors were locked, so they'd bang on the doors, not or jiggle the doorknobs, and people thought that was the shooter
Oh, yeah.
when it was actually just the police making sure they were safe.
Scoot in just a little bit, would you, Ethan? I'm starting to lose you on the edge of the picture there. Thanks. So, but you could see it was a police officer. And so then you guys all came out. Did they escort you out of the building or in a particular
Uh,
direction or what was going on?
yeah, we were escorted out of the building. I don't know by who. I don't remember, but
Sure.
I remember we were led into the hallway, and there are these big. Um, all the police officers had these big M16 rifles. I was like, well, dang, I guess that makes sense. But it kind of shocked me. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And we were let outside, and I remember seeing there was a helicopter in the air, and it was actually a news helicopter. I was like, I guess that figures. But I
Yeah.
mean, that's kind of, I think it's kind of messed up that the news are there before the police.
Well,
Police
and
helicopter.
before you even got out of the school.
Yeah, there's already a news helicopter there.
Right. Right. Yeah. Uh, Says a lot about our culture.
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you're out of the building. You're safe. The active shooter part is over.
Right.
Morrison, by this point, you were in a basement of a golf club, right?
Yes, we were in the basement of the building at the golf course.
And you have talked to your parents.
Yes, that was the first thing that I did.
Yeah. But Ethan, you don't have a phone, right?
I had a phone, but I left it in my locker because my science teacher was real strict about phones.
So, Morrison, that was one of the few times you got kudos for breaking a rule.
Oh yeah, I still do it to this day. I don't go anywhere without my phone.
I'll
Same.
bet not.
I bring it to the SAT, iStep. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. I've got my phone on me.
And same thing, huh, Ethan?
Yeah, I had SAT today, and I brought my phone in, and I just turned it off and put it like on the ledge.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to use it, but I want it here just in case.
Gotcha. Yeah, probably most of the kids in the school always have their phones on them now.
Oh yeah, there's these
Absolutely.
teachers. They'll have their phone pockets, the numbered phone pockets. Be like, all right, put your phone in the pocket, and I'd say maybe even half of them, probably most of the kids who went to West, because we got 2 middle schools, West and East, and I'd say about half of the pockets aren't filled up, and kids are like, oh, it's in my locker, it's in my locker. So
Right.
And at my age, even less.
mhm.
Okay. Fast forward, they take you all to the high school, right?
Yep.
And so you go to the high school. Then there's a bomb threat and then
Mhm.
another active shooter threat, both false.
Right.
Are you guys aware of those?
Yes.
They did not tell us
At the time, we were not aware.
Okay.
Yeah, I was not aware at the time.
All right. But so what did you know? Why did you think it was taking so long? Because you guys were there for hours before you
Oh
got
my gosh, we were.
I was there for so long.
Yeah, I think we were there for maybe even 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But before that, before we got hustled in the main auditorium where we waited for so long,
Mhm.
we got put in the locker rooms because that was the bomb threat.
Yeah, that
And
was during the bomb.
At the time, nobody knew it was. I had no idea.
Mhm.
I just thought we were just staying there for however long.
Yeah.
And there were, of course, whispers of something was happening, but I had no
Mhm.
idea.
I remember this girl, because we kept hearing whispers from the officers and teachers and things. Code red. It's like, well, yeah, I was there, but I didn't realize there was another code red. And I remember this girl asked me, she's like, "What do they mean by code red?" And I said, "I'm sure if there's something wrong, they'd have us all packed up in the locker rooms," because we were out in the auditorium at that point again.
Okay.
But that was probably the time was the shooter threat after the bomb threat when we were in the locker rooms.
Yeah. Finally. Now, by the way, this has been going on since 10 in the morning, or actually 9:30 in the morning, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so now it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And you guys, had you had anything to eat, anything to drink?
We had
The school
lunches
started tossing burgers and sandwiches just up the stands of the auditorium because they were all set out. They were massive. So just have people with bags full of lunch food, and they just tossed it at us.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because they had no idea. They didn't have any idea what to do, or they just didn't have enough food because it was another school worth of people just hanging out in the
Mhm.
auditorium.
And so they were just tossing them instead of having any kind of a line, so you didn't have to
Just
right.
lost them right out.
organized and
Because
all that.
we weren't allowed. This was the main gym, actually, not the auditorium. Main gym. But I guess they have concert there, so it's easy to confuse. But anyway,
Sure.
we weren't allowed on the gym floor. We had to stay in the stands. And to go down on the gym floor, you had to have your name called, and you had to wear a pink jersey once you got down there to make sure you were meant to be there. You weren't any kind of threat. And it was crazy because I assume if you weren't wearing a pink jersey, they'd probably grab at you and they'd send you away.
I suspect so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was just one of the ways they came up with on the fly to, especially after the other two threats,
Right.
to make sure that you had permission to be down there and that you were an authorized person and all that.
And
Yeah.
that was why it took so long. They're only sending us 8 at a time.
Oh, okay.
And then they have to wait for the pink jerseys to get back, and then they'd send more.
Gotcha. Oh my gosh. And how many hundred kids were there?
Oh, we're like 800 kids in that. No,
Probably
more than 8. I think it's 1,500. 1,500 goes to that school we were at.
Yeah, not all of them made it to the auditorium. Some went straight to their cars. Some, not all of them made it, but it was the majority of the kids at the school packed into that main gym.
Mm-hmm.
Holy mackerel. So you had 1,300 kids in the gym getting processed 8 at a time.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh my Lord. No wonder it took so long. And then you got 2 more threats in the middle of it, slowing everything down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. And I don't know, you can fault the school about that. They had to have control of it. They had to count people and
Yeah.
be able to account for. Plus, they had to deal with the 2 threats. So anyway, so you had some food thrown up to you. Maybe that's the wrong phrase to use. Tossed at you, and did you two get something?
Yeah, I got corn dogs.
Yep.
Corn dogs and carrots.
By the way, had you found Naomi yet and Caleb?
I made acquaintances with them. I saw them and at least said hi to them.
I
Okay.
hadn't seen them at that point, but I could see them because you were on the same side of the gym as I was.
Yes, I was.
But they're on the opposite side of the gym.
So we
So
saw
we could
them.
see them.
And I made like a wave at them, and they saw.
Gotcha.
So we'd at least like made contact.
Yeah, it was a big relief actually because at that point rumors had been spread around like, oh, it was a cheerleader who had been one of the people who was shot, 7th grade cheerleader, and Naomi at the time was a 7th grade cheerleader.
Exactly. So your alarm bells were way going off. So seeing her was definitely a relief for you.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
It
you're
was super nice too because I had heard it was in the science hallway, and I knew he had the science class. At
You
the
did?
Time. I actually didn't know you had the science class at the time.
That's crazy. I didn't know your schedule.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew you were in the science hallway that period.
So it was a big relief just to see Ethan then, right?
Massive relief.
Yeah. You finally get released. You're back with your parents, and you all went over to Morrison, your house, right?
No.
Oh, really?
Really, yeah. We did not go. I remember we talked outside the building for a bit, and there were people passing out bananas. I don't know. I guess that'll make us feel better a little bit. But I got a banana, and then I remember we drove home, and gosh, I don't think I've ever hugged my parents that hard in my life.
I don't think Mom has hugged me that hard in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was absolute agony for Mom having not seen me for 8 hours since the shooting because it was early evening by the time I got out.
When did you see each other again then after that? I mean, you have this incredible embrace with your parents, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But then when do you see each other?
The next day when we spoke with you as a family.
Okay. All right. And as a reminder, Morrison, your mom is my sister, and she called me and told me what happened. And I said, well, the best thing you guys could do is all get together, and I'd be happy to come down and talk to everybody and help people deal with what happened. And she agreed, and all of you agreed. And so all 3 sets of parents and all the kids from all the age ranges were there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we sat and we talked for quite a while.
We did, yeah.
So what was that like for you guys?
I don't know. I was still kind of in shock. I didn't really process what had happened that day until probably even a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
I don't remember crying at all that day, really.
Okay.
I'm going to be quite honest. I didn't get much out of the session. Because I deadpan when that happens, and I didn't really feel anything. I still don't really feel much besides worrying for my cousins. I didn't feel much urgency or danger or anything at all.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
So you're numb.
Yeah, I was completely
numb. Okay. Well, that's good information. Because from my perspective, all of you talk some about what your experiences were like. And I remember, I think it was Morrison, you talked about kind of taking a leadership role of getting people over to the golf course. It doesn't surprise me one bit because shock is so strong. And by this point, you knew that a teacher and a student had been critically wounded.
Yeah.
Both survived. And we're not going to talk about those people. That's their story to tell. But you knew that bad thing. It was a really bad thing. And,
right.
And that teacher was a favorite teacher, right?
I was a fan of him. I don't know about anybody else, though.
I never had him.
Okay.
But I had him the previous year, and I was a big fan of him.
Okay. So, yeah. So you're just still stunned the next day. You're talking, you're participating, but you're not really there. That's very normal kind of response. That's overwhelmed. My nervous system is not going to deal with this right now. I will appear to be dealing with it, but I'm not. I am not here. And so how long did that go on? How long before you really started to feel about it?
That's the thing. I don't think I had much to process, and I think that's part of what I wanted to talk about. Is that I wanted to talk about because I felt guilty about that. I felt guilty about not feeling bad.
Okay.
I felt guilty about not struggling with it
Okay.
because I felt that was like a bad person thinks that way. A bad person doesn't have a struggle when they experience something like that. Because there were people near me that bawled while it was happening.
Yeah.
I found it strange that I didn't feel that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
even
and
after,
somehow that was a defect in you, is your thinking.
yeah, I felt like that was a problem with me. And I wanted to come on here and say it's okay that no matter what reaction you have, it's okay.
Good. Good for you. Because that's exactly what I would say and what I do say to people.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's part of survivor's guilt. The why am I alive? Oh, I'm so glad it wasn't me. Oh my God, I shouldn't think like that. It should have been me, so it wasn't them. All of those kind of acrobatics you go through mentally to uh, just trying to deal with it, you know. And and so I'm glad you're okay with that now, Morrison, because that's you can be grateful that you weren't directly involved. And that the other part, though, is that you notice when you took on a leadership role, you had to not be panicked and afraid. You had to be nervous, concerned, or I should say anxious and concerned, because you're trying to help everybody get through this.
Mhm.
But that's a leadership role, and that's leadership kind of thinking, and that's what all first responders have to be able to do. Then the problem comes later,
Yeah.
when they don't have to be the leader anymore, and then they start thinking, right? And then you go through all kinds of stuff. You get the oh my gosh, I survived all that, and what did I do? Now, Ethan, how about you? How long before you started feeling about it?
I don't know. Maybe I'd say I'm in the same boat with Morrison, except I guess maybe I started feeling about it maybe a few months later. I was in counseling afterwards. I at the time I didn't feel like I needed counseling, but I'd say I think it helped me, even though I didn't feel like I needed it. I guess deep down inside I did need help. So
Good, good. Why are you pointing at him, Morrison? Were you
That's
aware that he needed it?
no. I sympathize with what he felt. I
Oh,
empathize with that.
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, did either of you take advantage of the counselor at school that they had when you guys went back to the school building?
I took advantage of the therapy dogs, definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good. And was that helpful?
Certainly made the day better.
It made me feel good in the moment, but I wouldn't say long term.
Yeah. Yeah. Did it help you come back into the school building that they were there? Feel comfortable, more normal?
Oh, I mean, I felt comfortable in the school.
Okay.
It didn't feel normal, but I felt comfortable. I didn't feel in danger.
Right.
But yeah, I'd say the dogs were, they made me feel a bit more normal.
Okay. Okay. And so, either of you have nightmares?
No.
No, not concerning that.
Okay. The numbness went away. Your normal emotional life returned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
After a couple of weeks.
Yeah, maybe longer.
Once school ended, I think the thing was being outside of the school environment, because as from every day after that at school, it felt different. It felt markedly different,
Mm-hmm.
and every announcement that came over the PA, I thought I was going to hear active shooter in the building, and I still do now.
Oh my God, yeah.
Every time, every
Really?
single
So as
time.
soon as you hear the mic open, that's what you think is going to happen.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm ready for it.
Other than the morning announcements and the imminent bus transportation changes at the end of the day, any unannounced announcement, I'm like, well, shoot, here it goes again.
Yeah, anything out of the ordinary would permit me thinking that it's happening again.
Mm-hmm.
Have any of the kids or you guys experienced just that sudden rush of fear when that happens, or is it just a little bit on edge?
It's somewhere in between, at least for me.
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah,
so.
I know a friend of mine also experiences it. It's not fear, but more adrenaline.
Alertness.
Yeah, you
absolutely.
get hyper aware of what's about to be heard through the speaker.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And
Okay.
yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd say that way. I feel, yeah, alert, like Morrison said. I don't feel fear. I think the only time anything like that happened where I was fearful was I remember we went to the movie theater and I think this is during the summer after, and the theater shut off and it all went, the projector went black and I was like, well, this is kind of scary. That's not normal. And I'd heard about the shooting, I think in Colorado, that happened in a movie theater a few years back.
Yeah.
I was like, well, shoot, I guess this isn't normal, and I was kind of scared in that moment.
You're ready to hit the floor, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are called triggers. They're, oh, this is the same thing happening,
Mm-hmm.
alert kind of thing. And it's associated with the sound, that microphone coming on, and then an announcement. And you have to listen long enough to hear it. Oh, okay, it's not that. But your body's already reacted by then. Your mind, your body's already reacted.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with being at the theater. Oh my God, that's what happened in Colorado. And then the lights come back on, everybody's getting up and walking out. And everything's normal, except now you've got a rush, an
Mm-hmm.
adrenaline rush going on, right? So, yeah, very, very common, very common. Were any smells associated with the event itself, Ethan?
No.
Okay. Sometimes there is, and those smells can become triggers later on. Okay.
I can see that because sometimes I'll smell something that I haven't smelled since maybe I was a little kid, and I'll be like, oh, I remember that. So I can see how a smell can be so triggering for someone.
Often associated with traumatic experiences and becomes a trigger later on for having
The visual of that locker room that I was in when the announcement came over is always accompanied by the memory of the shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep.
It's almost inseparable from the event.
You know, it's interesting because I was in biology class as a sophomore in high school when John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and I can still tell you what that lab looked like. You know.
Oh my gosh, every detail. I mean, before the shooting, I couldn't tell you what was going on, except I had to present a project and I was nervous about it. But everything after that, I could tell you probably in pretty perfect detail what was going on and where I was, what I was doing.
Yep. What helped you get past it all the most?
Time, I'd say.
Just the passage of time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Just time being removed from the environment, but even then it was different. It's been different.
Yeah, I'd say the next year of school was a bit rough because I had science still in that same hallway, and those classrooms are very similar. I was probably in an identical classroom
Yeah.
where I was when it happened. So I was a bit not triggering, but it made me on edge. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was different for me because I went to the high school the next year.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't hardly been back to that school since.
Okay.
But he had to go back for another year.
Right. Naomi had to go back. Caleb had to go back, and then the other two were.
They had to come. Yeah, they came in.
Yeah. And so just the passage of time and life returning to normal day by day was the most help to you.
Yeah. I mean, obviously therapy helped, but I think most of all, it was just getting further removed from the event and all that.
How did therapy help and you can share what you want to share and don't share what you don't want to.
I was just able to talk about I just basically described the events that I went through and nothing much else, how I was feeling during all that. And that helped a great deal. Just being able to talk to someone who is impartial to everything.
And was that counselor seem pretty familiar with the process of dealing with trauma?
Yeah, they were actually one of the counselors that came to the school after it all happened.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see her at the school, but
yeah,
she
okay.
told me when we started seeing each other outside of school.
Right. And so you guys went on. You no longer, well, you never really had nightmares. You have some memories, some triggers. Your phone's always with you. When you hear announcements, you are extra alert. I think you guys did a lot of situational awareness training. I think your parents took you through.
Oh, yeah. I remember my parents didn't really do that, but I remember going to the zoo with your family and we were at the dolphin show. And like, all right, try and point out all the exits you can. I'm like, that's a good idea. I'll start doing that. So I started doing that. And I've been looking at all exits, like, what would be the fastest way to get out of this room?
Right. Now, when you do that, are you paranoid?
No, it's just in case.
So it's just information.
And most of the time I try to sit with my facing a door. I don't like to sit with my back to a door or anything like that.
Okay. And was that training or was that just, well, like in the event itself, did you have your back to the door?
No, I was facing the door.
Okay. So you just realized that's the safest way to sit. You want to.
It wasn't even a conscious thought until I remember we sat down at a restaurant and on my back to the door. And I was like, this was before we sat down, but I was going to sit there. I was like, okay, can I switch seats with you, Mom? Because she was facing the door. And I was like, I didn't used to do that.
Okay.
And that's when I realized, I've made an unconscious effort to sit towards the door.
So what else, guys? What do you think would help other people, other young people particularly, that might end up in some kind of a traumatic situation?
That was the big thing I wanted to say earlier, is that it's no matter how you react, it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay not to feel anything, even the moment, even after. It's okay to not have it be a huge deal for you, because it wasn't a huge deal for me.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Right.
And you don't need to be guilty of that. You don't need to feel bad about that.
You know, one of the things I teach people about grief, for instance, and the same thing's true of trauma and a trauma reaction, is exactly that. Everyone deals with it in their own very unique way. There are some general trends, but there are always very individualistic ways that people deal with things. Anything else?
I guess just take it easy the following like days or weeks after, because I remember I was already amped from everything that went down that day. And I got home and my parents were like, okay, what do you want? What do you need? And I was like, I really want a steak. Can we go to Outback Steakhouse? And we went to Outback Steakhouse and I had forgotten, there's so much excitement in Outback Steakhouse. And they had all those TVs. And obviously the only thing on the news that day was those TVs. And it's like, well, maybe I should just stay home for a bit.
Yes. Very, very good. Yeah, I like that. Avoid noisy, crowded, hyperactive places.
Yes.
And certainly not with the news if you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great suggestion. That's really good. Oh, I guess what I was going to say was you didn't find yourself isolating then from people, or did you?
I wouldn't say I was, but I think my parents would say otherwise. I wasn't very, like I said, I was doing a lot of things subconsciously, sitting towards the door, and I guess subconsciously I was spending more time alone because my parents said they noticed that afterwards.
Okay. That would be kind of pretty normal too. And that's actually one of the things you watch for, because if you do too much of that, that's not a good thing. It's not
Right.
a healthy thing. And so if you have a friend who's starting to withdraw after something like that, that's not the time to leave them alone, even if they tell you to.
Mhm.
They don't go pester the crap out of them, but you make an effort to be with them and spend time with them, and reach out to them, invite them places, things like that, so that they don't feel alone, even if they choose to be alone for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Well, I really appreciate the two of you being willing to sit down with me and talk about this in detail, because we haven't really talked about it since then much, have we?
Nope.
No, we haven't.
Thank you very much.